Remember, anytime you're doing any of these, you have 3 different speeds that you're going to practice them at. You've got practice speed, learning speed, where it's just what I was just doing. Itchy, real slow, you're just practicing it for form. You want the form to be perfect. Don't worry about power, don't worry about speed. You want your stance to be perfect, you want your body movements to be perfect, you want everything to be in complete harmony, even if it's slow. Learning speed. You got demonstration speed, which is about half speed. You're in here and you're going to practice it. It's like you're demonstrating the technique to somebody or in front of a studio or in front of a gymnasium. Say you got a bunch of people around, you're going to demonstrate. Or you're testing. For testing, I want to see it at demonstration speed. I want to see good form. I want it to look right. I want all your body movements to be right, and I want a little bit of power in it. But then you have the third level that you practice on. It's called combat speed. Combat speed, you don't worry about the form anymore. You don't worry about anything but power and focus. You're in here, it's going to wobble all over the place, that's okay. You're in here, just put it out there just like you're trying to cut somebody in half, and all you're concerned about is getting the tip of that sword into their heart just as hard as you can and fast as you can. Focus on that and push it hard. Now what's going to happen is over time, every day when you come in and you practice this, you're doing, say, 10 learning speed, 10 demonstration speed, 10 combat speed. Before long, they're going to start to move together so that even your combat speed is almost as smooth as your learning speed, because your body's going to learn to move in these preset patterns after you do it over and over. So the faster and more powerful you get into it and the more rigorous that you do it, the harder you're going to be able to focus and throw that out there with proper form. So it's important to practice all 3. I know many, many schools. I've been to many, many schools. The whole sword curriculum. This cut, this kata, that kata, and that's all they ever do. They may come boken against boken, nick, nick, nick. You look at their bokens, there's no nicks and scars in it. Well, that's fine. I mean, that's fine. They can learn the form. They can learn what they're doing, and certainly I guess they do to a certain extent, but it has no power to it. It has no focus in it. When I taught martial arts, and later we're going to do other videos with different martial arts weapons and empty-handed martial arts also. And when I taught any form of martial arts I ever taught, I want to be focused on the reality of the situation. I don't want to stand here and swing this thing. It's not going to do me any good. It's not going to help me develop my spirit. It's not going to help me develop my fighting technique. It's not going to help me develop the mushin or the free mind or anything. To me, it seems to be useless. Some people like it. I know people come to our website all the time and give their advice on the sword and how it's this and how it's that, and that's fine. If they want to practice those things that way, that's fine. What we practice is fighting, combat with the sword in your hand. So we don't want to always just do learning speed and demonstration speed. Sometimes you want to blitz it out and train those muscles to hit hard and fast. Now, one thing that we haven't talked about yet, some of you are going to be familiar with this technique, and some of you are not. It's called the ki. The ki is what I was doing when I was throwing it out there. Now, just to give you an example of how it works, and of course I'm here by myself, other than the crew here, and Yumiko is here with us tonight. So I can't really demonstrate this, but I'm going to tell you how I demonstrated it in the past. One time I was doing a self-defense seminar for it was mostly women there, anti-rape and prevention and stuff like that. They were all gathered around. Everything got really quiet. Nobody was moving. And I was just kind of talking and telling them, okay, well, you want to do this, and you got your attacker that comes out there and he grabs you. And, you jump! And everybody jumped and kind of staggered back. The heart beating all over the place. Looked like it was going to pass out. And I said, right there, the way you reacted is why that works. It's not going to shoot power out at anybody. It's not going to, I've heard all kind of crazy stuff about how it's got all this mystical stuff to it. What it does, it overloads the person's system. They get so much intake through the sound that for a second there they're startled and they can't even see straight. Everything's kind of blown out of proportion there because all of their senses is focused on the hearing and everything else shuts off for a second while they're startled over it. Same way, if in an attack in a sword attack, we're going to take this back old school, and we're going to say, like I've always said, we're training just like tomorrow, we're going to go out here and fight with this thing. You come up on an opponent. He draws the sword against you. He wants you to be a little scared, a little bit timid. He wants you to back away and be a little bit of afraid. And the whole thing about the samurai charging to death was just the opposite. Somebody draws a sword on you, and by God, I don't care if my life is on the line. You take the sword, and you come straight in at them. It don't matter how the technique is. It's the spirit that you're going to focus out there, and you want to take them down that instant. Sword in hand, empty-handed, it don't matter. It's the same idea. So you need to practice with that intensity as you're doing these things. When you throw that cut, you pretend you're trying to cut somebody in half. Your life is on the line, whatever you want to put in your imagination, but you put power in it, and you put focus in it, and practice those ki-eyes also. Now, the ki-eye is not a throat noise. It comes from down low. Ooh, you want it to come from way down here. Your abdomen should be tight, and force that sound back up and out. And it does three things, basically. It lets all the air out of the body to intensify your strength. If you ever notice when you're lifting weights, you exhale on the push, right? Inhale on when you bring it back down. You're lifting something heavy, you exhale. Same idea. Punching, you want to punch hard, exhale. Ki-eye makes you do that. Same here. You want to cut, you want to throw the power behind that Kosaki. Ki-eye, torque that body muscle behind it and throw that Kosaki out there with some power. Secondly, it lets the air out of the lungs. If you get hit, if you've ever been hit with air full of lungs, I tell you what, if you're up for it, I don't encourage you to actually do this, but imagine, if you will, taking a deep breath and having somebody punch you real hard right here in the ribs. It's going to knock the wind out of you. Have you ever seen anybody get the wind knocked out of them? Have you ever had it knocked out? You know, it's like you can't get the wind back. Same idea. If you get hit with those lungs full of air, it's going to hurt, and it's going to take you out. So it startles the opponent, lets the air out of the lungs, and it tightens those body muscles for maximum power. Anyway, let's move on to cut number 6, Suburi Ropponme, which is going to be a diagonal cut. We're going to